Evening, all welcome to Fitting Dust. Now, what we're going to do today is a lot of people ask me. Well, first off, I've still got a gravelly voice. Do I sound sexy? No, I don't worry. A lot of people have asking me what suits I'm running and also what I think of maybe the other suits. So let's have a look at that. I think in terms of, let's look at the market first. I think it really is important not to waste ISCON drop suits. I've talked to a few people now who've already got, you know, a very good heavy. They've also got maybe a scout suit, and that's fine. But it means you're probably investing maybe 5 million skill points into something that you could put into something else. So just have that consideration. I mean, in terms of drop suits, obviously, you know, in the drop suits, you basically split them into these three headings: light, medium, and heavy. So let's just tackle them. With light, the reality is that light suits are basically scout suits, and as you can see here, you basically are limited to obviously the Mimitar and Galante at the moment. So pretty much, you know, you have to make a choice. My honest opinion is the Galante Scout is the Mimitar Scout is far superior to the Galante, only because the this prototype has 3 mids and 2 low, whereas obviously the Galante one has 1 mid and 4 lows. Now the stacking penalties on complex speed boosters means that, you know, then there's not much in it. So I would say this is better. This is, you know, the Mimitar Scout suit I've got, and I'll show you the fitting in just a moment, can actually do 10.5 meters a second, which I think this one can maybe do 10.75. I think. So I think in terms of your smaller light suits, that's pretty much the options you have. The basic frames are no different. Remember, it's just they don't have the actual bonuses to the suit. So I would say, you know, pretty much when we talk about light suits, we're talking about these two only, and I would say the Mimitar is probably the superior one, depending on your playstyle. If you like to play perhaps Nova Knives, then obviously the Mimitar frame actually gets a bonus to that, and let's just show you that. Whereas the Galante one has a bonus to effectively its range, its scan range, if that makes sense. So not much in it, to be honest, but I would say, you know, the problem I have with these suits is that they have a real kind of weakness. They're not terribly what's the nice word? They're not strong. My previous build in Chromosome, I could get the scout suit tanking 600 maybe plus hit points. The most you'll get on this is maybe 300, maybe 350 at a push. However, they speed tank, so that's maybe something that is worth considering. So on to medium suits, and again, you know, I know you probably get this, but a lot of people don't, so, you know, please bear with me. The assault drop suit, the logistics, and then the basic. Really, this is all of the medium suits baked down into either assault or logistics. So looking at obviously what each role does, and again, to be very clear, assault drop suits are there really as they say, assault drop suits. They have good hit points, they have the capability to basically, you know, be, I guess, mini tanks. They're not indestructible. They're a good middle ground between heavies and scouts. I mean, obviously, but they also have the ability to have some, you know, high hit points. I think, you know, I mean, Eddie Rio was telling me he was getting 700 hit points out of his assault suit, so that's pretty good. From a logistics point of view, I think logistics are very much about support, so you have more equipment slots. And if I was to say which one I prefer, it's probably this one here, the Galante Logistics GKO, only because it comes with 4 equipment slots, so to me that's pretty important. The way I generally play is using spawn pads, using ammo, using revival, and all that stuff. So to me, that's probably a good one. But again, you know, you're kind of gimped on the mid slot, but that's not a bad suit right there. That's a pretty good one. But again, bear in mind, you've only got 1 weapon slot, so you've got to kind of factor that in. The Amar one, I think, is slightly less good because obviously you only get 4 equipment slots. And again, but the difference is you get a sidearm, so depending on which gun you favor, if you're using ARs, and it doesn't matter, but if you're using, I don't know, forge guns, mass drivers, or even snipers, then this is going to give you a problem. So just bear that in mind, and again, you know, Caldari as well. So I think, you know, the logistics, I think, are certainly the most popular. If you're playing as part of a team, you know, if you're a logistics dude, you're loved, and you're needed. So I would almost recommend that more people go into logistics and assault, probably because you'll probably get as much war points as you would as assault, unless you can't kill for toffee. And then the basic frames are obviously just then the standard frames cut up into just without the bonuses. So nothing really interesting there. But I think certainly with your mid suits, this is what you're kind of looking at. And for heavy suits, I think you'll basically got the Sentinel. Now the Sentinel is obviously the I guess the heavy. Now, unfortunately, there's only a Mar in here, which is a shame. We're going to see the other ones come through soon. You're going to see that awesome Robocop style crazy tank thing from Minmatar come through, and that looks pretty good. In terms of the Sentinel suit as it stands, I mean, it's a pretty good, sort of 4 slots. A really good, really good heavy suit, to be honest. Running HMG, running Forge Gun, and so on. So I think, if you're a heavy suit user, obviously you're pretty much limited to what you can have. Soon the choices are going to really open up, so I would say get your points ready, because I think some of the other heavy suits are going to be quite good. So that's pretty much it. I mean, those are your 3 areas, and let me show you maybe what I'm running currently, because again, people ask me what I'm running on my fits quite often. So let me show you what my fit of the month currently is. So in terms of my Minmatar scouts, now again, I always run in teams generally, and what you find is that if you're dropping spawn pads, you're absolutely making a mint. So because every spawn you get is 25 points, so it's all good to have these spawn pads. Obviously I bought the collector's edition, so I got the Templar one. That's probably not worth it, but there we go. And then as you can see, this is my Minmatar scout, so running 2 complex lows gives a boost to 12%, and then obviously you've got as best shield as I can. I'm actually running an Aurum mod there. I don't usually run that, I need to change that, but running as best shield as I can. So basically this thing is running at what, 10.38 meters a second at a sprint, so that's pretty decent. And then shotgun wise, I generally stick with a K5. If I had better power grid and CPU, I'd go higher, and then obviously as many of these hacked exo grenades as I could get my hands on before they were pulled. And I think really then there's just the same thing with then a medical pen. There's the same thing then with a laser, which I don't use because lasers suck. Then always try and have a cheap fit. Generally in most rounds you can run your expensive fits, but maybe just make a little self rule after say 2 or 3 deaths. Just say, okay, I'll run a cheap suit for a bit, and particularly if you're up against very good players, there is a satisfaction in killing a 70-80k prototype suit with a 4K shotgunning suit. This is now my new kind of thing. I'm extending into Galante suits. So this is actually, I've decided to go with Galante because look at that, it looks badass, doesn't it? And I think the Galante suits, they're hard to hit. I don't know why, but when I've been shotgunning, I don't know if you've seen this in some of the shotgun videos I've done, but it's hard to connect a shotgun blast with Galante suits. Everything else is easy. So I've kind of gone with it for that reason. It seems to be more supple. And then all I've done is, and this is using my tactical AR, that's my new fit of the month. I know, groan, everybody hates them, but TAC ARs aren't overpowered, they're just very good guns, I think if the laser rifle didn't suck so much, people would be saying that's overpowered, Josh has skilled into laser rifle, absolutely all skills, and he's killing as many people as he used to. So it's just about the investment. I mean, I've probably put, I don't know, a couple of million skill points into tactical AR skills now. So is that overpowered? No, it's because I've invested all my skill points in it. Then I run 2 fits basically the same, but just one with a spawn pad. Then when I die, I can respawn with the ammo. So that's a really nice trick. I know a lot of people are doing this, but I think just to be really obvious, this is I do these videos to try and make people realize the obvious things that maybe they haven't considered. A life hack, if you like, is that if you run in with a spawn pad, you can shoot, you can basically get into where you need to be. Then when you die, you can spawn as an ammo dude or a medical dude or a whatever it may be. So always consider having multiple fits of the same thing. Then got my Aurum AR fit. This is only because I bought Codewish Devol. Let me just tell you a very quick story. I had all of the skills required to use the Devol, and it was late one night, and I'd had a few drinks, and I saw the Devol Tactical Assault Rifle and bought like 50 of them. Then I realised they were actually the Aurum one. And as I clicked X, I thought, that's cheap, isn't it? Thinking it was this, because it turned out to be Aurum, but there we go. So there we go. So that's pretty much my standard fit at the moment, is this one. Running them a Devol, that's a really expensive suit fit there. I use that for PC, not that we do PC anymore because we've just lost. But then we've got a cheaper fit, so glue. tac glue AR, which is, you know, again, just a cheaper fit. The other one, right, here we go. So scan gun fit. This is a really nice fit. This one to me is my kind of enjoyment one. You run around with a shotgun, scanning for stuff, looking for targets, and basically go and deal with people. It's really nice fit, I think, if you're looking to run as a squad, but it's also a great lone wolf as well. So highly recommend it. I think scanners are very much underused. I think people just sort of say, well, what's the point of finding out if people are there? Well, think of it from another point of view. If you see a team of people coming at you, or rather if you don't, running into them is death. Whereas if you scan them, you can then run round them and then hit them from behind. So well worth it. A swarm launcher, love this thing. I mean, again, I've kind of moved away from forge guns a little bit just because of the skill point requirements. So I'm actually going to go with swarm launchers. Quite liking them, actually. They're very strong things. The higher end ones do a lot of damage, and I think that's what you need to look at. The militia ones are terrible. And also they don't track terribly well, but they're well worth it. I think people disregard the swarms, but I would highly recommend them. And then obviously a forge gun fit. I think the forge gun fit I've got here is only 4k ISK, and it's all militia. There's no skill point requirement for any of it, and that's really important because again, you know, you're doing what, 13-20 damage on a hit here, and that's quite substantial. So you add that to maybe 2 or 3 people who can also respec into this at the moment's notice, and you've got a pretty much a mobile anti-vehicle division. Certain things seem to just absolutely destroy this fit though, such as scout LAVs and stuff like that, but that's another story. I think in terms of then our final fits here is just part 1 and part 2 of a sniper fit. So part 1 is obviously to spawn in, get a dropship down, get on some tall building, drop the spawn pad, start sniping, and then once you've run out of ammo, you drop down, use your SMG, run around, kill people, then die. Then once you've done that, you can then respawn back to your spawn pad as the part 2, which then has effectively, you know, a better fit, damage mods wise and so on, and then, you know, precision reductions, all that, and that really works. That's a nice fit right there. So you know, part 1 and part 2, it's like night and day. I think you should use these part 1 and part 2. Example here is maybe a scout that you call in to rush into a base at the start of the map, hack stuff, get to a supply depot, change to your heavy fit. If you're not doing that, you probably should. I think a lot of people just stick with one fit, whereas you could be getting a very fast scout, running into some position, then changing, you know. And I think certainly a lot of people, you see people do it. So that's our fits. I think as they stand now, it's coming together quite nicely. So just finally, vehicles, we will do more on vehicles, but as it stands currently, just buy 1 of each militia vehicle and have them in your armory ready to go. And this is true for mostly dropships, but also tanks. Don't forget tanks. If somebody's maybe doing, you know, sniper tanks and such like that, you could maybe call in your own. But again, you know, they're cheap, they're pretty much shit fit, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So, you know, I think it's worth investing in a stack of militia dropships and tanks, and it really does pay dividends. So have a think about that. But as it stands, that's probably my fits as it stands currently, and that's certainly my observations of the suits. So post in the comments if you agree. I think a lot of people are kind of making some good, interesting decisions when it comes to suits, but that's my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time.